insurgency. The Guardian newspaper reports Amrullah Saleh believes Karzai lost confidence some time ago in the ability of NATO forces to defeat the Taliban. Saleh resigned from his post last week. The Associated Press reports a Senate vote on President Barack Obama's choice for National Intelligence Director could be delayed into the fall because of questions about whether the nominee would be too close to the Pentagon. The nominee is James Clapper, the retired Air Force general who currently serves as Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence. From 2001 to 2006, Clapper headed the Pentagon's National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. In that position, Clapper played a key role in promoting the Bush administration's claim that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction prior to the 2003 invasion. In October 2003, Clapper said it was unquestionably true that Iraq moved WMDs to Syria ahead of the war. The website Think Progress reports former Bush advisor Karl Rove has cited Clapper's theory to defend claims by the Bush administration that it believed Iraq posed an imminent security threat to the United States. On Capitol Hill, the Senate's expected to vote today on a controversial measure to strip the Environmental Protection Agency of its power to use the Clean Air Act to regulate carbon emissions and greenhouse gas emissions. The legislation is sponsored by Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. At least 4 Democrats, including Jay Rockefeller of West Virginia, have indicated they'll support the measure. The White House is threatening to veto the bill if it's passed. In other news from Capitol Hill, Senate Democrats are working to scale back a Wall Street tax increase already approved by the House. The deal will affect the tax rate paid on profits by managers of hedge funds, private equity funds, venture capital firms, and other business. Last month, the House adopted a tax rate of about 35%. The Senate's proposing lowering the tax rate to between 31 and 33%. A former Brooklyn College student has been sentenced to 15 years in jail after pleading guilty to providing what prosecutors called military gear to al-Qaeda. Sayed Fahad Hashmi pled guilty after being held in 23-hour-a-day solitary confinement for nearly 3 years. The government's case against Hashmi rested on the testimony and actions of an old acquaintance of Hashmi's who turned government informant after his own arrest. Prosecutors allege Hashmi knowingly allowed the informant to store waterproof socks, ponchos, and sleeping bags at his house for 2 weeks. The rain gear was allegedly later delivered to al-Qaeda members in Pakistan. On Wednesday, Hashmi addressed the court for 20 minutes. He attributed his many mistakes to a misunderstanding of Islam and being manipulated by others. One of Hashmi's defense attorneys, Sean Mayer, spoke to reporters after the sentencing.
To finally be able to say something to the judge, I think was very moving for Mr. Hashmi. Those who were in court saw how his voice quavered, how he had real emotion. He had to stop a few times because of the emotion that welled within him. I think people saw his true remorse come across. I think people also heard his very legitimate criticisms of U.S. government foreign policy and the treatment, the inhumane treatment that this government has utilized against Muslim prisoners who are charged with what we call political crimes.
In labor news, more than 12,000 nurses in Minnesota have begun a 24-hour strike over staffing, pay, and benefits. 14 hospitals in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area will be affected. The strike was called by the Minnesota Nurses Association, part of the newly formed National Nurses United Union. The union has described the action as the largest strike in U.S. nursing history. And efforts to force the New York City Police Department to release its surveillance records in the lead-up to the 2004 Republican National Convention have been dealt a major setback. A panel of federal judges ruled Wednesday the city can keep secret some 1,800 pages detailing how undercover police officers infiltrated protest groups across the country. The ruling reverses a lower court decision. The Los Angeles City Council has approved spending $500,000 to settle a series of lawsuits filed by journalists who were injured when police violently crushed an immigrant rights rally on May Day in 2007. The city has already paid out $13 million to settle other lawsuits stemming from the protest. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez.